Welcome back, everybody, to another Novigrad card reveal for the new faction coming to Gwent. These are 11 cards coming in for the Syndicate. So let's start things off with the Halfling Safecracker. This was revealed by Gravekeeper. Halfling Safecracker is a 5 provision point, 3 strength unit that could be an elf. Profit 1, and on deploy, boost self by 1 for each crime in your hand. So this feels very much like kind of like a tactic card that Nilfgaard recently got that I can't remember the name of. But the idea that you're playing this early in a round and you're happy to do that, very Doppler-esque. I think that this is likely a one-of, much like a Doppler might be. But the difference here being that you can't have so many crimes in your deck due to the new creature cap. Sorry, special cards, creature requirement, special cards cap, you could say. So you can fill to the max amount of crimes to maximize this card. But I think if you're happy with this thing catching, you'd want like 4 or 5 crimes in your hand when you play this card to really feel like you got your money's worth. Because I think that the cards for Syndicate are looking like, just like in every other faction, you have your cards that are looking like they're going to be tier 1, like the cards that are thinning, like the Fence perhaps, the Sea Jackal. Some cards that are looking like they're probably going to see play all over the place just because they're so good. And then you have cards like this where you might think one of, you might think very fringe, people might not have room for it. But in a crime spree deck, I like the option. I think this is going to be a one of probably, but we'll see. We'll see when things go. And of course, anything that's the one of is a Shoop consideration as well. Herald Gourd. Yes, the third card named Herald added to Gwent. And here we have the final scoia'tael Syndicate dual card, Herald Gourd, which means that there is a possibility that Herald the Cripple could play Herald Houndsnout, and then the opponent can play Herald Gourd to kill Herald Houndsnout. And that actually could be a thing I cast, and I actually could say Herald that many times in a row. Thank you for adding another Herald to this game, CDPR. This might be a running gag, and I hope the next expansion contains a card named Herald Von Herald. This is a 7 provision point, 2 strength card with a deploy boost self by 0, but increase this boost by 1 for every special card you played this game. Now, this is another unit that may look not great in the light of the cap on special cards, in that low unit decks are just kind of feeling generally like how control decks usually feel in almost every other card game. Not a lot of creatures to interact with, lots of things to do, and your opponent does nothing happily to gain resources, which Syndicate is all about. Gaining resources through profiting. You got your Swindle, you got your Eventide Plunder in response from a control method. You have this new card, Shakedown. Might as well talk about Shakedown as well, because we're talking about special cards. But if we're talking about a control deck that wants to just get to the next turn, amass resources, maybe affect the board, this is a little bit more dependent on you. You could go either way, meta dependent. Maybe there's something you always want to kill at 3. Maybe there's something that you have that always lives at 3, depending on maybe what you're pulling out from Novigradian Justice. Starting to paint that picture for Syndicate. Herald Gourd is likely going to be a unit that is just great for a control deck as a finishing card in round 3. And with cards like Vivaldi Bank, which we will get to later for Syndicate, there is just no excuse to not hit this card. It's only 7 provisions. I think if there's going to be a crime spree deck that we're going to build together with a lot of strong intimidates to push and to bleed, but then we can maybe close out round 3. If we don't get the bleed done, if somehow our opponent survives the bleed, we have heavy hitters like this waiting for us in a thin deck. I think this card is going to be very, very strong, and I definitely think that scoia'tael is going to make use of this because they love special cards already. And this honestly looks like a scoia'tael card to begin with. Yeah, this is going to be like an 8 or 9 point card for 7 if at the end of a bleed. I think because you're bleeding with Sir Skewertooth, you're bleeding. You got an immune engine on the board. Man, Syndicate, I think the Syndicate crime deck is just going to be like just a nasty deck. It's going to be a nasty 2-0 attempting deck. It's going to be just disgusting. I'm excited. This is Shakedown. We talked about it just moments ago when we were talking about Herald Gourd here. There are all these special cards that profit. You can pick and choose, really. They're all crimes, just whatever you feel like using. I think that it's just, for the faction to feel complete, it's fine to have these different cards. Oh boy, Nithril is the best artifact removal for a faction. Hold my beer. This is the drill machine? Tunnel drill. This is the tunnel drill. This is an incredibly strong card. For 6 measly provisions, you get a 5 strength unit that profits you for 1. And if you want to spend 3 coins, you can destroy an artifact. But if you wanted to spend 6 coins, you could destroy 2 artifacts. And if you get 3 more coins later, you can keep destroying artifacts. It is a fantastic artifact removal card. Very strong body. So even if it whiffs, or you're just under the coins or whatever reason, it's hard to remove because it does represent a threat. If you have more than 1 artifact, this thing can just plow you if you can't stop it. It's just good for it's just really good, guys. It's so good and it's exhausting me. Awesome card. Awesome artifact removal faction card for Syndicate. What can I say? This one destroys Eldain. You can destroy 3 artifacts in a row. Yeah, but I mean... Yeah, Eldain won't really rise to power if Syndicate's meta and just has no reason to not play this card. But this card barely has any reason to not play it. Like, does it even have to profit you 1? Maybe. Yeah, it probably should. It's just I just like that 5-point body. I just think it's good. Unless it gets smoked by Pitfall. Indeed, Ellis. Indeed. Someone who's clearly played Eldain before. So these have been pretty good cards. Herald Gourd revealed by Graden. Shakedown revealed by Nippon GWENT. Tunnel Drill revealed by Wanged, champion of the last GWENT Open. And now we're getting into Caesar. Or Caesar. Whatever. I'm going to say Caesar because it sounds fancier. Caesar Bilson is an 8 provision point, 4 strength dwarf with the deploy effect. Trigger the profit abilities of adjacent units. Fee 3. Boost an allied unit by 2. So there are things I like about this card and there are things I don't like about this card. What I don't like about this card is that if you could have a board state where this does not feel very good. The good thing about this card is that it's an engine, it's a payoff card and a coin dump. And it also gets you quite a lot of profit when you play him, should you have a board state to support him. If this card is popular in a niche deck, then that card is going to be really popular. But if this deck is meta, I think people are going to try to really hose the potential of this card. Because they know what you're saving your coins for, they know what to expect, and they know exactly how much your final play is going to be worth. But I think that there's a lot of potential for this card, probably because there's so many profit cards. You could play a full profit deck. Probably. It seems like there's just enough in there. Up against control on the wrong side of the coin, I think he just gets hosed a little bit. I don't think he'll be competitive, but I like the potential, and I think that, this Profit Bank deck, Gold Rush deck, I mean, he's got to be in there for a try, right? He's got to be in there for a try. What do you guys think? You guys think the deploy is super good? You know, if it bonded like beggars work. Bonded like beggars. Well, the reason why I think that it does not, and I'll tell you why. Oh, wait. I think bonded isn't classified as a well, actually, you know what? This is a really good question. So they're both profitabilities. I have a feeling code-wise, it probably only boosts by 2. No, I mean, if it's next to another beggar, so you can't play it in between the 2 beggars. I don't think that there would be no reason for it to take the 4. But if it's next to another beggar, wouldn't it profit 4? You would only get, there'd be one guy here. You'd be another beggar on this side, and then you'd play Caesar here, and you'd get the 4. I think you'd get the 4, because it would re-trigger it like re-triggering a deploy. It depends on how it's coded, but I don't see why it wouldn't be profit 4. If we're talking about duplicating this profit here, the problem with profit 8 is that you'll rarely get that much value from this card. You can only hold 9 coins. So you play the beggars, spend the coins, and then play this. I mean, yeah, you get a lot, right? So it's fee 3. So let's say you spend all your coins, or all but one of your coins. So when you play this, you have a full 3 boost. So you've played this card for 10 for 8 if you wanted to convert it all completely. Which, when you look at cards like how Caldwell felt for a long time. Yeah, Caldwell was super strong, but there were things you could do about it. It was annoying when Caldwell was in like every deck that people were building, but this is a Syndicate only card, first of all. But 10 for 8 under some pretty specific circumstances. I feel like this card is not in this circumstance where your opponent allows this to happen. I mean, the Beggar's 3, the Beggar's very killable, you could say. But, if your opponent allows it to happen, it still doesn't seem that crazy, right? It doesn't seem that crazy. But it's starting to show how prevalent profit is. Seems like your purse should always be bulging. Let's move on. All right, this card is Kurt, revealed by Jason Nayrock Kim, and I will be Kurt with the explanation of this card. Is an 8 provision point, 4 strength unit with Intimidate. On deploy on the melee row, locks a unit, but on deploy on a ranged unit, purifies a unit. So it's very much like a cheaper Aguara that's also an engine. This card is crazy. It locks, it unlocks, and it grows. It's really, really good. It is a cheaper, better card in a lot of ways than Aguara because it's so quickly a 5-point card. This card is a staple. I think this card is going to be hard to not include for me in every deck. Like, why would I not play this card? It's not even that expensive. Vivaldi Bank. This card revealed by Anaxia is very, very interesting. Very, very long-winded and very good, in my opinion. I will explain this. I will explain exactly how I think this card is going to work. This card is PogChamp. I agree, Rogue Digit. Why use few words when many do the trick? Well, that's why I will simplify this. This is Vivaldi Bank, a 9 provision point special card that is not a crime, apparently, which is cool, I think, in a way. I think that's actually very cool. For the cards that care about crimes, it means that this can't be pulled by Furco the Sculptor, but it can be pulled by Cleaver. So, profit 1. So you start off with a coin. Look at the top card from your deck, plus an additional card for every crown you possess. Play the top card for free, or play another card for a crown cost equal to its distance from the top. Shuffle the remaining cards back into your deck. So first of all, why is this dope? Well, it's like a better Last Wish. You always have the one coin, which means that you always are going to be looking at 2 cards, and you can always afford to play the second card. So Last Wish without banishment is, I'm already on board. I'm sold. But it's even better. You can look deeper and deeper into your deck and just get whatever you need in round 3. You should basically never be able to fail. It would be so hard to fail. If you're Cleaver, you can't fail. You pull this card, you find what you need in the bank, and you play it for your win condition, and you will always find it because you're Cleaver. And if you don't find it, you just need to draw bank anyway. And you're already thinning your deck anyway because you're playing Casino Bouncers. You're playing the other one, Sewer Raiders, I think it was. And of course, you're probably playing Furco, pulling a crime out of your deck as well. So if you're playing something like Graden, let's say, if you need him like you needed Menno and Old Spy Nilfgaard just to completely shut down the game and have last say, crush whatever tall unit, if you're playing something like Graden, or more else, something that can actually just destroy an enemy unit under a certain condition, and it's like, oh no, Graden was at the bottom of my deck, well, you just go to the bank and you find it. Go to the bank, you find it, you pay the tribute for Graden, Graden kills it, he boosts, there's a bounty on the thing, the bounty on the unit, you get the coins all back, and then you pump them all back into Caesar. It's all starting to seem very fluid. This card is a superstar card that is very, very cool. But unlike something like Willem, if you have a whole handful of gold cards, Vivaldi will just get you your best card that you can see, probably for free. Because if you play the top card, you don't even spend the coin that it gives you. This card is so incredibly good. Revealed by Ozymandias, we have Graden, a witch hunter, I believe. He is 9 provision point, 3 strength, deploy on the melee row, destroy an enemy unit with bounty, tribute 5, boost self by that unit's base power. Ooh, this card is very good. This card justifies bounty in its completeness. Basically, if you have a witch hunter based build that is able to place bounties and stuff like that, we've already seen that. It's questionable about bounty and how much value it really provides based on removal. But if you have coin dumps, you should be able to make a lot of use of, because it's all zeal. It's all zeal spending these coins. So if you have a lot of coin dumps, then you should be able to spend a lot. And if you have able to, gain a lot of coins through bounty effects, the tribute of 5 should be pretty easy for you. And with stuff like Vivaldi Bank, you're going to hit this card. So let's say you have your consistent deck that's able to place a bounty on a big unit, and then you're able to play Graden and kill it. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound a little bit like an infiltrator placing spying on a unit that maybe triggers the boost of something like a what were they called? The Impera Brigades at the time? And then you play Menno, and Menno kills the spying unit. Doesn't it sound familiar? It sure sounds familiar to me. The deck that I'm referencing is Nilfgaard Spies of old. One of the reasons why Nilfgaard Spies was so good was that it had a very high consistency. You could find Menno a lot of the time. But I think that in this violent game of ping pong that Gwent is, this card is a huge swing card. Because with the tribute, you also... I've only been talking about the destruction of the bounty card. We haven't even talking about this friggin' giant toad-esque consume the other unit and grow ability, which is crazy good. That's crazy good. I'll use the fantastical, impossible, beautiful example of Spear Tip. You get a bounty on Spear Tip. Graden drops, destroys Spear Tip, removing 12 from your opponent's side of the board. You gain 9 coins at most. Then Graden gains 12 strength. All that for the low price of 9 provisions. This is a bomb. This is the bomb we've been waiting for this faction. Novigrad Justice is also a bomb, but Graden is a bomb. Am I wrong? Firesworn Scribe, bronze card, which appears to have no credits for the reveal. So if anybody knows in the chat or anybody knows in the comments below, do that shout out. It's a 5 provision point, 3 strength unit on the ranged row. Whenever you spawn 1 or more units, gain 1 crown. Tribute 4, boost self by 2. This is a really interesting card. This is like he's like the banker for the Firesworn. This is Cyrus Hemmelfart's good buddy here. We haven't seen a lot of Firesworn cards lately because we're going through each of those gangs, and we saw a lot of those early. But we never saw that final Northern Realms card, and it looks like there's still more Firesworn to go. So here we go. This is an engine that can protect itself, which is pretty cool, and it also can pay yourself. You can pay yourself back when you spawn your units, but you have to pay 4 to make him buff enough, perhaps, to handle removal. So to get that payback, he has to stick around for a long time. So I think the tribute's a little high on this card. I think the tribute is too high if you feel you need to play him at 5, but it's good to have the option. However, if you're playing him for 5, he's only really paying back that debt, which is kind of cool when you think about a faction that's about crime and banks and, mobsters and all that stuff and the power and the money. So I do like that, I guess, flavor-wise. He's better if you don't pay him. So it's, just like volunteers, right? They're better and you don't pay them. And they make you money. But I think that the card is cool. I don't know if it's going to make the cut, but I need to see. I think this card requires the full set, I think, to see. I need to see how much does the Firesworn need that money. Compare this to the SK Priest. I mean, I think it could probably have 4 on the body, or the tribute could be a little lower. I think the tribute should just be lower. It's nice to have the option. It's just if his and he's row locked, right? He's bad. All right, he's bad. Oh, you got me to say it. Final cards of the day, we're going to be talking about the Borsodi Brothers. They are kind of they're in cahoots with each other, even though they are brothers at war. They do like when the other one dies, that's for sure. And play Hearts of Stone if you haven't played it before. These guys are from Hearts of Stone. These guys are part of an awesome storyline that is not related to Olgierd at all. Well, it is. Everything is sort of related to Olgierd, but it's like its own separate thing. So even if like you've been spoiled about Hearts of Stone and you know everything that happens with Gaunter O'Dim from the start to the finish or Olgierd, you probably don't hear this storyline talked about too much. The Borsodi Brothers and the Auction House. It is so great. So you have the Borsodi Brothers. They're both 7 provisions. They're both 4 strength, and they both profit you too. If the other brother is in the graveyard, the brother you're playing profits you by 4, They both also have a fee, which means that they're both coin dumps. Ewald Borsodi, if he's on the melee row and you pay the fee of 2, you damage an enemy unit by 2, so you'd use that for control. Horst Borsodi, on the other hand, if you have him on the range row and you pay his fee of 2, he boosts an allied unit by 2. So very much like Botchling and Lubberkin kind of in the same card, if you could play Botchling one round and then play Lubberkin in the other round, sort of. Kind of also like the Crones, kind of also like the Witchers, but in their own unique way. All I can say is, mwah. All those cards I mentioned are really, really good cards. So if you find a new unique way to have cards that care about other cards played earlier in the game, I'm down for it. Also, the theme of the one brother being in the graveyard is so great. I didn't really spoil anything. Brazar is waiting for KOB cards and a 3 duo with Nilfgaard. Oh, yes. No Nilfgaard, just like last time. Maybe Nilfgaard is last. Maybe Nilfgaard is last just like last time. They got to keep you. They got to keep you as ravenous as possible right until the very end. And then the excitement of the expansion hitting just washes out all the complaints like, I don't think this is a good Nilfgaard card. I'm a sad man. Engine's like, can I just go back to how dope this card is? This card does not, like, a faction lock unlock for 8. That's an engine. Oh, man. But by this guy existing, to have a card so universally necessary, have Intimidate, you're basically saying you're gonna play Crimes in your deck because you're gonna play Kurt in your deck. Yeah, it's a short but sweet stream. I'm gonna go now. Kurt's a good card. And yeah, have a great night, guys. I'll see you later.